Hi. I've had a really weird week, and I want to tell you about it. I'm in my car right now. It doesn't really move. It's kind of stuck here until insurance comes to look at it, and then I can get it fixed. But this is the story of how I got in a car crash. I kind of vlogged what was going on a little bit on the day that it happened, but I was like such a mess that it's kind of just embarrassing. But where do I begin? Last week on Friday, I went to this yoga class, and can we be quiet, please? I went to this yoga class in Santa Monica. I ended up being the only one in it, which is kind of weird, but that's not the point. I haven't done yoga in a while, or really breathed that deeply in a while, and the instructor taught me all these breathing techniques and stuff. Like, it was great. But later that evening, I started coughing up blood, and I think it's because I aggravated my lungs a little bit by breathing so deeply and they just weren't used to it. Coughing up blood is kind of a common thing with cystic fibrosis. It happens a lot, and it's usually not a big deal unless it keeps happening and doesn't stop. And so I wasn't super worried about it. It wasn't a lot of blood, so I just went to sleep. But then the next morning I woke up and I was drooling blood. There was something like bubbling in my lungs, so I coughed a bunch. A lot of blood came out, and I kind of panicked and I called my doctor. So I've been coughing up blood again. This is the first time that I've had a bad lung problem since I left in October. I don't know what to do. Coughing up blood is the reason that I had to spend 2 months in the hospital last summer. So when it happens, I kind of get nervous because I'm really afraid of hospitals. Even though I've spent so much of my life in them, I still get a lot of anxiety when it comes to like hospitals and veins and blood and needles and all that. And the doctor was like, okay, you need to go to the hospital.
I do think you need to go to the emergency room.
And he gave me a hospital downtown to go to, and I said okay. And then after I hung up, I just started crying because I was scared, because I'm a big baby when it comes to hospitals. They want me to go to the emergency room. If I go there, they're gonna put a PICC line in my arm, and it's like the scariest thing in the world. I had like a panic attack. I think it was a panic attack, but I tried to calm down and I started driving. And then as I was driving, I was crossing this road, and there was like a stop sign, and then you look both ways and cross. And apparently I wasn't paying good enough attention because this car came, and it seemed like it came out of nowhere. I don't really know what happened because it all happened so fast. He came and he like hit the side of my car really hard on the driver's side, and my car sort of skidded across the road. It felt like it was gonna flip over, but it didn't. I was already not okay, and then this happened, and it just made like nothing seemed real. I was like, what is going on? And then after that happened, I got out of the car, realized that this man's car was completely totaled in the front. My car somehow wasn't very damaged. The back tire and the axle or whatever is bent, and there's some scrapes, but other than that, it's not totaled, which is amazing, and I don't know how that happened. But George is strong, and George doesn't let anybody total him. As soon as I got out of the car, I broke down crying again, but this time like way harder. I was apologizing to this guy like a million times, and he probably didn't even know what I was saying because he didn't speak English. I asked him for his license and registration, and he wouldn't show me it, so I had to call the police. A cop came, and he filled out all the paperwork for us. Then he let me go, and he had to keep this other guy because I guess he didn't have a license at all. I think he was an illegal immigrant. Hopefully I didn't just fuck up his life too bad. And then I drove away, and I realized that my car is not really drivable. Like, I can drive it small distances, but the steering's all off, and it needs to be fixed. I just got in a car accident on my way to the emergency room, and I totaled somebody's car. I feel really bad. They ruined this guy's car. I was already freaking out because I was panicking about my lungs, and then I got in an accident and it didn't even feel like real life. I was like just so confused. I don't know why I'm crying so much. Somehow, throughout all of this, my lungs stopped bleeding, so that was good. I decided not to go to the hospital. I was so stressed out after the crash and everything that I think that if I were to go to the hospital, I would just have a mental breakdown. I don't do well in hospital environments. They cause me a ton of anxiety. It was the last thing that I wanted to do after that. I just wanted to curl up in a ball and go to sleep for 20 years. I've kind of calmed it down a little bit since earlier. I decided not to go to the emergency room. My lungs stopped bleeding. I talked to a doctor and he prescribed me some antibiotics rather than having me come straight into the hospital. But if the bleeding comes back, then I have to go to the hospital. Today was a mess, and I'm really glad that today's over. I went to one of my friend's houses, and she texted me because she saw it on my Instagram story. She wanted to know if I was okay and if I needed a place to stay. So I went to her house, and I spent the night there. My friend is letting me stay at her place tonight in Santa Monica. So I'm staying here. And yeah, that's what happened. It could have been worse, and I'm really grateful that I am still alive and that this guy is okay. If this taught me anything, it's to, first of all, don't drive while you're having a panic attack. You'd think that would be common sense, but I just need to be more careful. I feel like everything happens for a reason, and maybe the reason for this happening is to push me to do something different. I'm thinking about going somewhere else for a while, somewhere where there's less people and somewhere that I can think more clearly and make art, and I just need to be out of a city, I think. Life is really fragile, and I could have died for multiple reasons the other day, the coughing up blood and the accident. If you take anything from this video, it's just to really appreciate the fact that you're alive, and sometimes these wake-up call things happen and there are different ways to look at it, but I think if you try to just learn something from it, that's all you can really do. Life is crazy and life is really short and life is really fragile. We should just make the most of it while we're still here. But yeah, that's all. Everything is gonna be okay. I hope you're having a lovely day. I'll see you in the next video, which will hopefully be a little bit less depressing than this one. And yeah, okay, bye.